Check, check, check. Check one, check two. How are you? Yeah, how are you? It's G from the Academy saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I hope the sun is shining a little bit for you. You know, I was just thinking about random things. I made myself a cup of coffee and I was thinking about how I used to make coffee for my clients when I had an office. And I was thinking about the habits that I used to have there and how the habits have changed and how we fear change a lot of the time. We keep things the same because we fear certain elements of the unknown. And and it's complex because changing things doesn't always mean making things better. It's costs against benefits analysis, right? Or some people would do a SWOT analysis, their strengths and weaknesses, right? And it's a little bit crazy because if you don't change some things, nothing will get better. Yet at the same time, there are certain things that we shouldn't ever change. Perhaps concepts of freedom and liberty shouldn't change. Perhaps our long-term partners for life shouldn't change. Because we've got this, oh yeah, change to make things better, but it doesn't always work that way. Because sometimes you've got to struggle through, right? You have to persevere. You have to find a way. There's no easy road. And sometimes when we search for an easy road, all we do is make it harder for ourselves. Even when we work to make things easier, the work itself is usually harder. And what do we want? Do we want everything to be easy for everyone? I don't know. I think we need the consistent, constant, daily challenges. We need them. I was looking in the mirror earlier and I was like, put on weight, right? I don't stand on scales because numbers don't interest me very much because they sort of mean whatever you want them to mean and they can be manipulated. Yet at the same time, numbers are useful as markers. Telling or marking how old someone is. But then age is no measure of intelligence. So it doesn't tell us everything. A lot of young people that I've met, much wiser than a lot of the older people. Some kids wiser than their parents. Yet they're trapped within the worlds of rules set up by people who are older who theoretically know more. Theoretically, right? They theoretically know more. I can see the water out in the harbour. glistening. It's relatively calm. I should be out there. But the day has not turned out quite the way that I planned it. I did get out for a jog, and I think I overdid it a little bit because I had to sit on the floor for 15 minutes when I came back, and then I couldn't get up. And I found out that I was making these noises as I was moving, trying to get up, like, when did that start, right? Yeah, I was looking at a picture in the Facebook memories section, which I like. I like that memory section because we forget a lot of things, and it's nice to be reminded, like, what you did on this day a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. For active people, it's nice to have those reminders. If you're just doing exactly the same thing every day, then maybe it's not so cool. But I was looking at this picture of me by a swimming pool, and I was really thin. Looked fit, but really thin. And then I was looking at myself earlier, and I was like, ooh, belly's starting to hang over the belt a bit there, right? Maybe you should do something about that. Priorities. Always a struggle to get everything in and to get everything done. And to achieve any level of success, you need relentlessness. You need to just go at something and go at it again and again and again and not give up. You see, most people give up at a certain point. I would say a large majority of people give up even before they begin. What's that saying? It's the start that stops most people. It's the start that stops most people. Right? Anyway, let's dive into stories, information, thoughts, philosophies, ideas about our new world, our new order, our new normal. Beginning with a recommendation, youtube.com, Doctor Who Predicted, COVID-19 answers all. Yep. Which network is that on? Highwire, I think. I think that's on Highwire. With that, who's that guy Dell? I think in some way that network is related to Robert F. Kennedy. I'm only saying that because I saw some pictures of everybody together, and it kind of makes sense. Anyway, they do a lot of informational, broadcast information on that network, and you should check it out. You should check out everything at least once. See what it's like, right? See what it's like. Because it's people at those independent networks that turn up, people that turn up when they don't have to. People that turn up and make a difference. They're not there for the money. They're not there for power. What they're there for is because they love liberty and they like to keep people informed. And they show up and set a good example. as a result. And empowering people is important because the more power people have, the less fear they have, and fear itself is one of the greatest barriers to human progress. And people fear the obvious, they fear reality, they fear to make mistakes, but you need to make mistakes so that you can learn what you need to learn, right? Architects for socialhousing.co.uk, manufacturing consensus, the registering of COVID-19 deaths in the UK. Text reads, individuals can be excused their inability to understand the data analysed in this article. Manipulation by the propaganda of our media, and perhaps even refusal to question what is happening, simply because of fears and anxieties. Well, these are very prevalent in society, but people cannot be excused their collective responsibility for the assumption of dictatorial powers by governments, for the granting of greater powers of arrest and detention to police and security forces, and for the further intrusion of technologies of surveillance and control into our collective and individual lives. Ignorance, stupidity, anxiety, and fear are not an excuse for what is being done on the back of these states. Watching what is happening in this country, specifically the UK, has made me realize that the universal excuse of the German people of the 1930s that they didn't know what was happening before it was too late does not describe how dictatorships arise from democratic societies. They can only do so with the consensus of the majority of the population. But that agreement does not have to be active. It can be agreement through default, agreement through silence, agreement through refusal to question, agreement through obedience to unclear or unsound regulations. However, under a propaganda campaign universally implemented by the full spectrum of media, increasing numbers of the UK population have already progressed to agreement through the blind repetition of government propaganda, agreement through the policing of dissent, agreement through the denunciation of disobedience, agreement through collaboration with the state, agreement through collaboration with the security forces, agreement through snitching on their neighbours, agreement through not checking the statistics, an agreement through not questioning, agreement through not understanding. Yes. Sometimes it is not enough to not disagree. It is not yet too late to halt the creeping totalitarianism to which all of us in different degrees are giving our consent, passively or actively, but time to do so is rapidly running out. Tick tock, tick tock goes the clock. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Meanwhile, as Facebook refuses to allow links to certain pages, it requires that I print text without mentioning the source. Tra-la-la. Oxford is just about finished with the first phase of its human trials. Skipping the animals, just testing everything on the people. While Imperial is on track to begin its first trial in June. Is it just so popular we just need to use their first names. Followed by a second one in October. Before long, there will eventually be a vaccine available for everyone, though it is unclear if Brits will be forced to receive it. I will not take it. I will dissent. I do not consent, I will leave the country if that's what I have to do. Our scientists are at the forefront of this vaccine development, Sharma is quoted as saying. This deal with AstraZeneca means that if the Oxford University vaccine works, people in the UK will get first access to it, helping to protect thousands of lives. Absolute bullshit, because you don't know if you're protecting anyone because it hasn't been properly tested long term. You have no idea of the side effects. You're a bunch of psychotic establishment orientated authoritarian medical mafia is what they are. He went on to state that 100 million doses of the Oxford Wuhan coronavirus, can't call it Wuhan, it's racist, Oxford Wuhan coronavirus, that's a joke, COVID-19 vaccine will be delivered in total, ensuring that in addition to supporting our own people, we are able to make the vaccines available to developing countries at the lowest cost possible, because it's all about money. This all directly coincides with President Trump's efforts here in the US to develop a Wuhan coronavirus vaccine as part of his Operation Warp Speed. Let's just all race against each other straight downhill, shall we? Trump recently hired Monclef Slaoui, something, of Moderna, the company that has been Moderna. Yeah, didn't they do something with DNA? Should check that out, right? The company that has been tasked with developing a US vaccine for the Wuhan coronavirus to oversee the mass distribution of jabs in America once they are ready for commercial release. In other words, it's now a race to see which country can unveil an effective Wuhan coronavirus vaccine the fastest. It's a race. It's a race to the bottom. It's a race straight to the bottom. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 credits of whatever currency. Right. And it's madness, but not without method. Because you see, the pandemic is a marketing campaign, really. They're selling you vaccines. It's a campaign. And campaigns are military. And you are the target. Right? You are the target. And the whole thing is that over time, nothing changes. Over time, absolutely nothing changes. Hello! Have you come to join me? Over there?
Sorry,
with your weights. That's why the door is closed and there's a note on the door, right? Yeah, that's the reason for that. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're not finished. Oh, okay, right. Well, thank you for bringing the weights back. Yes.
Well, I thought it was dangerous to leave them.
Yeah, don't leave the weights with the kids because they'll end up stacking them on top of each other and trying to climb up them or something like that. Right. Where are we? Where were we? H.L. Mencken. Quote. The whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed, and hence clamorous to be led to safety. Keep the populace alarmed, he said. Alarmed by menacing it with an endless series of hobgoblins, all of them imaginary, right? All of them imaginary. It's all about what you believe to be true, right? It's all about your belief systems. If you believe them, if you're watching the video, here's a list of deaths per state in the US. One of them a set of blue states, the other one a set of red states. You should be able to notice a slight difference there. If you're not watching the video, I'll let you figure that one out for yourself, because I trust you to be able to figure things out for yourself. Interesting, huh? It's interesting how they switch the colors. Red is no longer red. Right? Left is no longer left. You know, go back in time 30 years and it was the liberal left that was screaming about wars and immorality. Now it's the right that's screaming about it. Crazy, huh? Right? Swings, pendulums, roundabouts, play parks. Government is just a playground for the rich, super elite. But we all have a choice. We have a choice in our daily lives, where we go, what we do, what we eat, right? We have a choice. We have a choice. We have a choice to prepare today for tomorrow. We have a choice to prepare our kids for the future, right? We have a choice. We have a choice to watch what it is that we want to watch, share what it is that we want to share. Yeah. Might be interesting for you to check out the new film Reconnect from London Real. Hashtag London Real Army. A nice film bringing together experiences. The experiences of Brian Rose, Dennis McKenna, Jordan Peterson, Michael Pollan, Graham Hancock, Gabor Mate, Joe Dispenza, Dorian Yates, Sadhguru, and Dan Penna. Yeah. Interesting. And what happened to Jordan Peterson, huh? Medicated. That's what they do to you if you threaten them. That's what they do to you. Oh yeah. It's what they've always done, right? It's what they've always done. Still, there are sparkles of light. There are sparkles. There are sparkles in the darkness. Yeah. Harry Vox put out a lot of good videos recently. Ringing the bell, raising the alarm. Max Egan, ringing the bell, raising the alarm. A. Jones, ringing the bell, raising the alarm. Mr. Carlson, raising the bell, raising it up, and ringing the alarm. Step by step, right? Step by step, day by day. That's how we make it. Just like the moment to moment of daily life itself, all great masterpieces are made one brush stroke at a time. We must be artists in our daily lives, and we must love the art of living. Yeah, we must love the art of living. We must understand the art of living. But a lot of people are just too busy to see what's going on. It's not their fault. They're busy doing their own things. They're too busy to see that flattening the curve made everything last longer, that staying at home broke the economy. Yeah, that putting little frames on their Facebook profile pictures just just added to the social pressure, the conformity, the confusion, the misunderstanding that the death toll, the misery, the depression that people are experiencing is only the beginning. Because this whole reaction's got nothing to do with a virus and everything to do with the intoxication of complete control. More people will lose their jobs. More people will be on food lines. More misery will ensue. More. There's going to be lots more. But then don't listen to alternative ideas, right? Don't listen to alternative ideas. Listen to the mainstream media. Listen to the press. Listen to the journals. Listen to the New York Times. Listen to the Washington Post. Listen to the Independent. Listen to the Guardian. Right? And people do. And they read. And they absorb. And they turn into parrots. They turn into parrots. And they forget that they exist to resist. They forget that nobody is going to come and save them. They forget that last Friday morning 3,500 New Yorkers were lined up at a Catholic church in Queens to receive free food hours before it even opened, according to the New York Police Department. Meanwhile, Catholic charities have reported a 200% increase in demand over the past month and a half. The calls to food banks in the UK have gone through the roof. People forget that by prolonging the coronavirus shutdown, the core mission has been accomplished. Thousands have been plunged into poverty. Thousands of businesses have been destroyed. And we were told at first, oh, just a short lockdown to ensure the hospitals didn't get overrun, to ensure the hospitals are not overwhelmed. We turned civic centres into hospitals. We set up Nightingale hospitals that we didn't use. We didn't need them. We brought in ships that we didn't need. We were constantly told we're moments away from running out of protective equipment and ventilators, and these were the key issues. Meanwhile, the cities died, the streets emptied, the bars and jazz clubs and restaurants and coffee houses sat barren, beloved haunts and perfect joints were shuttered for good. The sweat equity of countless small business owners evaporated. Instead of getting people back to work and providing for their families, the mayors talked about the fantasy land of New Deals. Broadway shows ended, beaches empty, games unplayed, schools abandoned. The lights are off. Everybody's learned to socially distance themselves. But don't worry, the businesses can adjust. The elderly and infirm can continue to be isolated. Meanwhile, the focus is what's important. We need more contact tracers now, don't we? People to trace people, people to follow people, people to force their way into people's homes, people to listen to your conversations. Is anyone in charge? Anyone? Anyone? Meanwhile, here and there, the flame of liberty still flickers ever so slightly, lightly. It's dim, but it's there. In late April in the USA, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp defied experts by opening his state. The Atlantic magazine accused him of engaging in human sacrifice. You want to guess what happened? Well, instead of predicted spikes in deaths, the number of coronavirus and associated deaths declined. Perhaps we should consider for a moment if we are not being led by idiots who have no plan, by reporters who don't know how to investigate, they don't know how to ask questions, they don't even know which normal they want to return to. Yeah. Who's going to save us now? Who's going to save us? Who's going to save the economic strangulation of the barbers, the tailors, the nail salons, the sporting goods stores, the movie theaters? Who should all have their doors open? Isn't it the politician's job to serve the people? Do we really live and die by their consent? What do you think? What do you think? Which way is it going where you are, right? What's the direction? Or to quote Boris Johnson, I've learned that it's much easier to take people's freedoms away than to give them back. The Prime Minister joked. He joked and his team laughed. And people died. An extra 20,000 deaths in care homes. Unaccounted for. Unaccounted for. Don't know why. We don't know why. Meanwhile, the snowflakes cry quietly for more lockdowns. More lockdowns. More lockdowns. And the government says that it makes sense to track and trace the virus. It makes sense to continue to follow babies born into coronavirus-infected mothers to see if they face difficulties later in life. It makes sense. So we have the capacity to track babies born to coronavirus-infected mothers, to chart any long-term adverse effects to their health, but we lack the capability to track children after vaccines, to see if there is any long-term adverse health effect. You see how the game is played out? You see how they have manipulated everything, manipulated the ideas and opinions through the Behavioural Insights teams. Did you know the British government has a Behavioural Insights team? What are behavioural insights? Traditional methods, tools or stimuli employed to change public behaviour, such as legislation, regulation, taxation and education. Education is employed to change public behaviour. See, nothing about learning. More recently, however, we have seen how the application of numerous techniques of nudge theory, nudge nudge, wink wink, behavioural economics and psychology, known as nudge theory, have been used in order to modify how governments and the population at large make decisions. The purpose of these so-called nudges is to encourage people to make better choices for themselves and society. The hell it is. One such better choice concerns the highly controversial rollout of smart energy meters. The thinking behind the move is that households with smart meters will be able to receive highly personalized, behavioral feedback, which is deliverable through a range of new technology platforms such as a web portal, email, mobile applications, and social media. Behavioural Change and Energy Use, a joint publication of the Cabinet Office Behavioural Insights team, the Department of Energy and Climate Change, and the Department for Communities and Local Government, and billions of other departments and people you've never heard of, presents insights which complement the government's objective to reduce carbon emissions across all sectors. Reduce carbon. You're a carbon life form. Energy consumers are therefore being deliberately misled. Energy companies are claiming that a smart meter would mean an end to estimated bills and that consumers also benefit by instantly being able to see how much energy they have used in pounds and pence. But the authors of Behavioural Change and Energy Use also point out that in the context of domestic energy use, providing customers with feedback on how their energy use compares with similar households in their neighbourhood has been shown to reduce energy consumption in higher than average users. You see what they're doing? You see that? A further document by the Department of Energy and Climate Change highlights the fact that when smart meters are installed, the energy providers can switch off people's energy supplies. Let me read that again. A further document by the Department of Energy and Climate Change highlights the fact that when the smart meters are installed, the energy providers can switch off people's energy supplies if they deem the usage too high or if the grid is on a high load, only to be restored when usage drops or the user is more conservative with their energy consumption. They're going to do this with everything. They're going to do this with the food. In fact, they're doing it with the food. And then they're going to do this with the internet, right? They're going to do this with the internet as well. All the little things that you've come to love are going to be erased. Little bit by little bit, little step by little step, they're going to do it, right? They're going to do it because they're psychopaths. PsychologyToday.com. The lesser of two evils. Fallacy. Fallacy. So much of what passes as media is fallacy. Did you know there are over 360 basic fallacies that the human mind is capable of on a daily basis? The lesser of two evils is for the most part a misnomer. Sure, there are times when we are really choosing between two evils. In Sophie's Choice, for example, Sophie was forced by Nazis to see one of her two children killed. But we shouldn't overgeneralize the concept. The lesser of two evils should really be called the lesser of two disappointing opinions. You hoped for options closer to your ideal, but that's not what you've got. You see, I call it the ice cream argument. Someone says to you, oh, you can have chocolate chip ice cream or you can have vanilla ice cream. And you say, thank you very much, but I don't want ice cream. Maybe I'd rather have an apple or an orange or something. And they say, but you don't understand. You have to take some ice cream. But you don't understand. You have to send your kids to school. But you don't understand. You have to pay taxes. You hoped, but you don't understand. You have to vote. You hoped for options closer to your ideal, but that's not what you got. That doesn't necessarily mean that your options are all evil. Perhaps your options are just disappointing, or perhaps one is evil and the other one is just disappointing. Right? Perhaps. Think of what a mess you'd make of your life if you called all choices between disappointing options the lesser of evils, and therefore refused to support evil by picking among your options. Right? Imagine. Your job isn't perfect, right? Nor are the alternative jobs that you could opt for instead. So you might call your choice between the lesser amongst evils. If you refuse to support evil, you would choose to be unemployed as a matter of perfectionist principle. Interesting. Or you could opt for some dream job you can't get. Yep, Life is just the selling of dreams. That's all it is. It's the selling of dreams. So marketing is the selling of dreams. That's what business is, the selling of dreams. That's what government is. It's the selling of dreams. Dreams, my friends, dreams. Is your romantic partnership less than perfect? Does that make your partner the lesser of the evil options available to you? If so, by the logic some people are applying to elections, you should leave your partner because he or she is still evil. But you should go after a partner you can't get, which will leave you either alone or with a greater disappointment. Does that give you something to think about? You know, the dichotomy of false choices. This beer or that beer. It's still beer. Rolling Stones or the Beatles. Still rock and roll. Oasis or Blur. Metallica or AC/DC. Yeah, Ford or Chevy. Right. Left or right. Up or down. Black or white. Yeah, black or white. The way out is the way through. Break down the walls. Right? Become unlimited. The progress is very often smashing everything around you so that you can escape. So that you can tune in to new opportunities through the understanding that chaos brings with it possibilities and that everything you need is within you as long as you appreciate what you have in your hand, right? As long as you appreciate what you have in your hand. Have you ever looked at a human hand closely? The details, the lines. Did you know that when doctors, or when students are studying to be doctors and they're cutting up the human body so that they can learn about it, right? It's a pretty gross thing to be doing, but we all understand why it gets done, right? You know what the last part they look at is? The last part they look at is the human hand. Because of the perfection and complexity that exists there. Right? It's the last part they look at. Wow. You would think it would be the brain or some of those internal organs, but no. Because hands are beautiful. The sense of touch, what you can accept and what you can reject. You know, it's the first part, right? It's the first part that you hold onto with a person. When you're with a person. Yeah. When you meet a person. Right? It's the first part. And when you meet a person. Maybe the last thing that a person feels is somebody holding on to their hand. Maybe the last thing a person feels. This is incredible. For those watching the video, have you ever seen a Facebook post that did not fit at any point in time in any size onto a page. Have you ever seen that? I've never seen that in my life. It's quite incredible. The Facebook post doesn't fit. I wonder what happens if I try to reduce the size. Fits then. Interesting. Interesting. Written by a friend of mine online. Let me read you a little bit of this. I'm sorry, but anyone that thinks that social distancing is a good idea for the next few years, anyone who thinks that it's good to be microchipped or thinks that any kind of benevolent dictatorship or overarching, overpowerful government is good for humanity, well, you might as well just unfriend me now. I mean, we're all free, right? You're free to stay at home. That's your right to choose. But what gives you the right to force others to stay at home? Wear a mask if you want to wear a mask, right? It's your right, right? If you want to avoid large crowds, then avoid large crowds. It's your right, right? However, the rest of society is not required to descend into poverty for your benefit. I'm not required to abstain from human contact for your benefit. I'm not required to shop alone, be without my kids for you. Freedom-loving people refuse to participate in a quarantine lifestyle. Right? Isn't it mad to quarantine the healthy instead of the sick? Instead of just the sick? Yeah. What about... Okay. Thank you for telling me. That's called life. Right. Why should I set myself on fire for you? Why should I give up my life for you? If you're convinced that the vaccines are going to be safe and effective, well, why don't you get one? Good luck with that, right? Why not? If you want to study the scientific data, good for you. That's fine. We can't realistically seek to control all the self-destructive behaviors of others. And we definitely can't demand that government does that either. We have the human right to take risks. Life is full of bacteria and viruses, experiences that are dangerous. And we need these experiences to make ourselves physically stronger, to make our immune system stronger, so that we can deal with life better. We have to collectively stop allowing governments to destroy food supplies, small businesses, medical autonomy, access to healthcare, social gatherings, privacy rights, fellowship, mental health, freedom. The new normal is nothing but starvation, depression, suicide, child abuse, domestic violence, imprisonment, governmental spying, pure desperation in search of an invisible enemy. Stay home, stay safe, stay focused, stay vigilant for something that you can't see. Right. It's all about that invisible enemy that you can't see. Right. It's all about that. So you can stay at home. You can wear a mask. You can live in fear. but don't force that fear upon others, because force is always failure at the end of the day. My name is G. I represent the Academy. If you disagree with anything I say, then that's kind of cool, because that means we can talk and have a debate and a discussion, and maybe you can educate me, maybe you can teach me something that I don't know. And hell's bells, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. Life is a long road, right? What's that Tom Petty song? Love is a long road. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, if you want to follow me, it's Graham William Hendry on Facebook. There's actually 5 Facebook pages. You can also check out Twitter, Instagram. You can check out YouTube, the Academy of Language Therapy and Life Coaching. You can pick up 3 of my books for free. Just ask me. The Leadership Series, with the 4th one coming soon. Put everything out for free because why not? Let's not have a barrier between information, between people. That's it really. Thank you very much for tuning in, and wherever you are, stay safe, stay happy, stay cool, and as always, don't forget to tell the ones you love that you love them. Take care.